Okay. All right. I think we are live. Hey, how's it going? Sam here, and today we are going to be going through some editing in Descript, and we're going to be creating some templates that you can use for your podcast. And all of this is going to be um, transferable. I'll walk through how to do each thing. I will be using the paid version of Descript, but you should be able to do pretty much everything I do today with the free version. So, um, without dancing around too much, just want to welcome everybody here, and yeah, we're gonna be. The plan is to create an audiogram template, uh, and then a vertical form template for a video clip. So we're going to do one for audio only podcasts and one for video podcasts that get shared on something like LinkedIn or YouTube Shorts or Reels or TikTok. So that vertical kind of aspect ratio, the taller video. So that's what we're gonna run through today. Um, so if you have any preference, let me know. I was planning on starting off with the audiogram. So let's get started. All right. So we're gonna go with the audiogram. Um, so let me share my screen here. Um, Here we go. So I've got a project open in Descript. This is actually the same one that I used. This is a copy of the same one I used for our last live stream last Friday, 2 Fridays ago. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is just make a duplicate of this. So this is just some example footage that I shot. And let's just rename this to audiogram. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend basically that this video here doesn't exist. Okay. So a lot of people only record audio podcasts, and that's fine. Um, for whatever reasons. That's kind of how the medium started, anyways. So there's still a lot of people doing that. But just because you're only doing audio podcasts doesn't mean you can't take advantage of video. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend like I only captured the audio here. So with this video, I'm just going to make that disappear. So we're in Descript. We are going to create an audiogram, and I'm going to start a lot of popular audiograms are in a square shape. So that's what we'll do today. And let's just talk through a couple of the key elements of an audiogram. And I will pull up an example. Actually, an example from the last time I did this. So, audiogram example. Okay, cool. So here we've got the podcast name, episode number, guest name, their title, company, picture of the guest. We've got some captions here that correspond with what this guest is saying, and then we've got a waveform, and that's pretty. So you see that waveform moves with the audio, obviously, and that's that's something that's pretty common on audiograms. So we'll be going through how to create something similar to this. If you, for whatever reason, want to create this exact thing, you can watch the last live stream I did, either on LinkedIn or it's on my YouTube channel. So let's go to our newest project here. So we don't have the video in the background. So what we're going to do is let's actually use some generative AI to create a background image. So let's just say this is for a podcast. Maybe it's about nature. Okay. So let's see. A serene site. This is setting, and I'll read what this prompt is in just a second. So serene opening in the woods next to a mountain with a picturesque tent and campsite. The sun is setting, and there is a campfire going with that is lighting up, that is illuminating. Okay. So I'm just going to get that started. So that's going to chug for a minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug that in as kind of the background. So in the previous example I showed, there was just kind of a colored background that was kind of that salmon color. For this one, we're going to use an image. Excuse me. Ooh, okay. I'm liking this one. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this image and let's go to effects. And I'm just going to adjust the color a little bit. So, and the reason I'm doing this is so that when we lay some things over on top of this, it'll be easier to see. So I'm going to bring our exposure down a little bit, and then I'm going to bring our saturation down a little bit. So that just darkens it a bit. Bring our shadows. Ooh, that's a nice little scene we've got here. Okay. Maybe I'll bring the exposure back up just a little bit. Cool. Cool. So there we go. That's our background, and we'll go from here. So, excuse me. Next up, let's add in one of our key elements here. So let's add our captions. So to add captions, I'm just going to come over here on the right side, click captions, and let's go with, yeah, why not? One of these. Cool. So let's play around with this just a little bit. Okay. So we've got our text box here, and that's just going to run automatically. Script do we want to play? Cool. So that's just going to take care of all of that. Now let's add in our waveform. So I'm going to come over here to Elements on the right side, go down to Waveforms here, and then I'm going to click Lines. Okay, so we can see this is what it looks like right now. What I'm going to do is change some of these properties. So I'm going to tweak it a little bit. All right, so I'm going to turn off mirroring, and you'll see why in just a second. And yeah, I'll bring down the fidelity a bit. And this I want to make a little more transparent, maybe a little thicker. Sure. So I'm going to bring this down here and line this up with the bottom. And I'm actually going to come over to Scene and drag that below our captions so that it's not blocking them. Because this waveform gives us, a little bit of movement, a little bit of something that's visually interesting, and we'll have enough of that, even with the captions blocking some of it. So I'm actually going to increase our caption font size, and I'll make this bigger. I kind of like the look of 3 lines. Maybe I won't get the 3 lines then. Okay, here we go. So we've got our captions, we've got our waveform. We're doing pretty good. Let's now add our nature podcast title. So just, the name of the show, basically. And we'll bring that down a bit. Let's switch it up and go for a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a different font. I feel like I use Josephine Sans all the time, but it's a pretty good font. So I'll just bring this down a little bit more. And even though this area was a little bit lighter earlier, a little bit brighter, I'm not too worried about this text standing out against it with the white text, because we turned down the saturation a little bit. But if I want to make it a little bit easier to read, I'll just come up to Effects, and we can put on a little bit of a shadow. So no shadow, shadow. And we can go a little more, we can make that a little more subtle. Yeah, so it's just a little bit easier to read. Awesome. And maybe, this is our episode, maybe this background is our episode or our podcast cover art. So maybe that's where we're getting this image from. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. And I will use this for our guest name, or maybe the episode number. But before I do that, I want to add a line so that we have kind of our podcast title, and that's going to be separated a little. And actually, let's bring that down in size, or down in relation to the top of this thing, and I'll bring this down a little as well. Cool. Let's crank that up just a wee bit. And then here, I'll go episode number whatever. And let's make that, and maybe that's too light. Maybe we'll just make that like that. And we'll do episode, number with guest name. So we'll bring this down even more. Let's see what 60 looks like. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to left align that just so we can line everything up here in a moment. Okay, and then I'm going to take this line and just line it up there. And I'm going to use the arrow keys just for some finer adjustments. Same with this. Okay, that looks pretty good. But this line, I'm going to make it a little longer. Yeah. Awesome. So here we go. We've got a little something here, and I think this looks pretty good so far. We can let it play for a moment and see how that looks. Awesome. If we wanted this waveform to be a little more eye-catching, we can, number one, like stretch this a little bit. All right, stretch this box. But the real way you would want to do that is by coming up here and changing the magnitude, right? So that's going to be how much this this waveform is going to change. So if I bring that up to 5, so hang on to your butts, as they would say in Jurassic Park. Let's see. So you can see it's much larger, and we've got a lot higher peaks and valleys. Well, lower valleys, that is. That's good. I actually want to make this a little even more transparent. So it's still kind of eye-catching enough, right? But it's you can see through it, and it's not too distracting. So maybe, as we're doing this, I decide, I don't really love the look of the lines. I'd rather it be, one kind of fluid shape. Well, there's 2 ways you can kind of remedy that. Use 2 ways to kind of fix that. One is by being a bit of a crazy person and just dragging the fidelity way up, and then you get kind of this, it kind of looks like a low resolution shape or wave, and that's kind of what it eventually looks like. Or what we can do is switch from lines. We can come down to wave. Now, let's bring our fidelity back down. Okay. And what we're going to do is, we should have an option. No, I could be crazy. I thought there was a fill option. Huh. Okay. Well, no, then then we would Oh, wait. No. No. Nope, I'm just being a crazy person. Okay, so there isn't a way to fill it. So if we want to have that as a solid thing, then we'd come back to lines. And, if we want that to be a little smoother and look more kind of like a wave, then we can just keep increasing the fidelity. And that just basically adds more points so it smooths it out. So at 500, it looks much simpler, much smoother. So I think that is looking pretty good. Let's add one more thing, and then we'll switch over to talking about how to create some stuff for vertical. All right. So I'm going to grab just a shape here, and yeah, I'll just grab a square. And it doesn't really matter what color the square is, but I'm gonna change it to black. And we're gonna go to effects, and we're gonna add a shadow, and it's gonna be a pretty extreme shadow. So we're going to bring this blur. We're going to put that up to as high as we can, and then we're going to bring this and put that up as high as we can. So now with this blur, we get because there's not a way to do gradients in Descript. The best way I've found to do that to get a gradient effect is to use a blur like this. Now you'll see towards the edges of the shape, it kind of starts falling away. So whenever if I want to have a consistent line of gradient, I make sure to extend the shape beyond the edge of the canvas. Because even if I just drag it to it, it's still rounding here. So if we drag it all the way, boom, we get our line of black there. So what I'm going to do is bring this way down, and I'm going to mess around with our shadow a little more, because I'm going to move it a little so we can round kind of the edge there. And some people might be able to spot what I'm doing. I want to just make it a little more easy to see that the title, right, of the podcast. So drag that like that. And what I'm going to do now is come up to scene, and I'm going to take our rectangle that we're working with and move that in this layers panel down below nature podcast title. Now we can get to adjusting how that looks. All right, so we've got our shadow here, and that's starting to look pretty good. I'm going to bring our opacity down a little more. And so the reason I'm doing this with the shadow and not actually just the box itself is just to avoid any like real harsh edges, and avoid looking like there's a rectangle right behind it. So yes, we can see that it's darker around here, but there's softness to it and a roundness to it. So that's looking a lot better. So yeah, now I would say this is pretty much done. Awesome. So if you wanted to save this as a template, you can go to Scene and come up here to these three dots and just hit Save the Template. Or you can come over here to the left where all of the scenes are, and you can just left-click on that, and then you can save it to a template there. Cool. So now let's transition into the vertical world. So let me duplicate this. All right. So just going to rename our thing here. So 8/23 is today, and this is vertical. Vertical. Cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is adjust our canvas here, and I'm going to move that to portrait. Okay, with this, by clicking this drop down here, and then I'm just going to click portrait. So from here, as you can see, similar to kind of the square podcast templates that we've made, when we change the aspect ratio, we've got a lot of blank space, right? Taylor Swift would be all over this with all this blank space. So one way to kind of solve for that and to take up the extra space is just to take our video here and extend it. So we can just drag it, and then we can go and drag it all the way up. Cool. So sometimes this is, I believe, 1080p, so HD footage. Sometimes if you're working with someone that has, they record their podcast on Zoom or, heaven forbid, something worse than Zoom. But if they've got lower quality footage, or if the camera isn't great, then you're not going to want to make that. You don't want to stretch that that footage, the resolution of that, much more than you have to. Like, you want to limit that as much as possible. So in that case, where we don't want to stretch it so far, so if we just bring it back here, there's a couple things we can do. We can do something to take up some of this top space and some of this bottom space. We can do something to just take up some of the bottom space, or we can find something else even crazier to do. So what I'm gonna do is take this and show you how to make one of my favorite kind of styles of vertical clips. Okay, so full transparency, I am not the originator of this style. The first person I saw use it was Justin Simon on LinkedIn, but I'm not sure if he's the progenitor of this style either. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take this clip, and I'm going to move it right around to where it's at the halfway mark. Right? I'll extend it a little lower than that. And then I'm going to take this and bring this all the way up. Now, you can see here, I've got a lot of headroom. So we don't necessarily want that for our video, because we want to kind of maximize the kind of amount of space that the face takes up on the screen. So what I'm going to do is just zoom in here a little bit. And, oh man, look at that ugly mug. A face only a mother could love. So I'm not going to bring my head all the way up. I'm going to bring it right around here. I'm actually going to zoom it out a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, right around there. So I'll pretty much line my eyes up with this line here, with our rule of thirds there. And part of the reason I'm not going to bring my head all the way up to the top, part of the reason is obviously I want to have a little bit of headroom so the footage looks a little better. But also, if we think about how people are going to be viewing this, if they're and it's good to note that most short form, most vertical content is being consumed on a phone. Okay, so it's not somebody sitting at a computer. It's not somebody looking at it on their TV. It's being consumed on a phone. So if we think about where, if you've got an Android phone or some of the Samsungs, the Google phones, they've got picture, they've got camera cutouts up here, and then if we think of our audience members who may have, I don't know, an iPhone, we definitely don't want to have something important being blocked by the the dynamic island up at the top, right? So you don't want to have something that's behind there, behind the notch, because that's just going to be cut off, right? So I want to make sure that even with the notch, there's a little bit of room, okay? So I'm just going to delete that. Next up, I'm going to grab a shape over here. We're going to take this and we're going to, at first, I'll just take up this space, right? And one of the things I'm going to be using is the shadow thing that we just talked about on that audiogram, but I'm going to be showing you another way to use it. So what I'm going to do is let's take this fill color and let's say, the brand of my podcast, oh yeah, it's got this, yeah, boom, hot pink. Yep. So let's just say, that's a color that's associated with the podcast this clip's being made for. So we got that nice on brand color there. And then I'm going to go to effects and we're going to add in a shadow. But it's not going to act like a shadow. Okay, it's going to, again, act like a soft edge. So now I'm going to come down to the color for the shadow and switch that to that same hot pink. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to change this Y to -200 so that it's coming above the shape, right? And then I'm going to change this blur to go all the way to 200. So then we've got like a nice soft transition between here. Now, as you can see, right on the edges here, where this square, well, now rectangle, actually ends, right in the shadow begins, you can see those hard edges. Now, again, that's because the shape ends right here, and the shadow's doing some rounding. So, to avoid that, and avoid looking like a goober, okay, take your shape and just extend it on the sides. And now look, it's uniform across. It looks so much better. So this is doing okay right now. But I want to get maybe a little more of this this video on screen. So I'll just bring this shape down a little bit. Now we can see the hard line, okay, right here at the bottom of the video. So I need to extend our video a little bit. And there we go. Okay, so next up, let's add in some captions. Here we go. So this is what we're doing here. All right, let me crank up this. And yeah, we'll do this just like Justin Simon. So a little bit of an homage. Justin, I hope you subscribe to the thinking that what is it? Plagiarism is the most sincere form of flattery. So let's just knock this up. Bam! Let's knock it up a notch. Okay, cool. So we've got our captions, and that looks cool. You can pretty easily see, the text, when it's over the video and just over this graphic here. Then let's go ahead and add in. Like a subtitle kind of title for the clip. So I'll use Joseph and Sands yet again, and we'll do this in a bold, and I'll just call this clip title. Let me deselect that. So clip title, and to fill this out a little bit more, / headline. And I'll go ahead and center that. I kind of like the whole right aligned thing, so let's do that. So I'll match that up with this, and bring this around a little bit. Bring that down in size. I'm just trying to line that up. Okay, that's in the middle. That's in the middle. Well, that's lined up with this. Now I'm going to grab a line here, and I'm going to bring that down there and down there. Let's get that lined up. And yeah, white works fine, but I'm going to make that a little thicker. And I'm going to make that a little thinner. And let's go ahead and extend this line a bit. That way. And then find where center is, maybe. Yeah, so let's get that centered. And then, yeah, maybe I'll bring down this opacity a little. Let's see how that looks. Okay, looking pretty good. Now I'm going to grab some more text, and I'll just hit Command D to duplicate this text box. Bring this down here. It's all lined up. Here, I'm going to bring this down to semi-bold, and I'm going to bring our size down a bit. And I'll just put guest name, and yeah, I'll put our guest name there, and then I'll go ahead and duplicate that text box. Then line that up underneath, and we'll do title at company. And here we'll go with medium italic, and we'll bring that down a little too. Cool. So, one thing we can add here is I'm actually thinking, let's add a bit of a shadow here. Oh, it's already got one. But let's go ahead and kick it up a notch. Bam. Okay, there we go. Put that at 8. Cool. And then let's make a... Let's say that whatever, our podcast has a circular logo. So I'm going to put our circular podcast logo right up here. And just to make that fit with the aesthetics, let's grab that, and then we'll add a little bit of a border here and bring that up a notch, and then maybe we'll shrink this down a little more. Sure, that looks pretty good. And one thing we can do is we can add a bit of a shadow to that. So that'll make that look a little nicer. Cool. So some of you may be saying, oh dear God, my eyes are bleeding. Why is this hot pink so hard to read? Please, dear God, change it to something else. And now's the point in the live stream where I oblige you. So let's take this and let's go to a color I really like. If this wasn't clear enough by the shirt I'm wearing in the video, let's go to like a navy. So we got our fill. Now let's come down to shadow and switch that up. And we'll go with the navy look there. And then I'll come up here and switch this out. And boom, there it is. That's all it takes. All right. If there are any questions or anything, just check in the chats and seeing if there's anything there. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to call it here. I'll let you know when I'm doing a next one of these. Check out more videos on my channel. I'll be uploading some more stuff there. If you would like some one-on-one help, let me know. If you would like to hire me to do some stuff for your podcast, I'd be happy to help. If you'd like to hire me to help your brand with a podcast, or if you've got some other kind of content marketing or podcast adjacent things that you would like some help with for your company, please let me know. And yeah, I'll catch you all later. All right. Have a good weekend. Have a great weekend. All right. Bye.